Seven Vale Art Trail, and this is the brochure. If you like art trails, this is a good one. Artists and lots of other craftspeople, sculptors, carpenters, carvers, textile workers, all sorts. It's a really good trail. So there's brochures here if you're remotely interested. Just help yourself to one, okay? Right. The title for this is An Introduction to Abstract Art. Yeah? Okay, right. I looked up the definition of abstract. It says here, I've lost it now. Oh, there we go. Related to or denoting art that does not attempt to represent external reality, but rather seeks to achieve its effects using shapes, colours and textures. Does that make any sense? Good. Right. I do very little abstract art, to be quite honest. You know, I do the odd bit. Something like this, for instance. But even this, in a way, you can read something into it. This is a landscape of the sunset. This is some very colourful planks of wood. You know, I can't help myself looking for the reality, looking for the connection with reality, looking for, you know, life in the pictures. So the idea of doing 3 coloured strips on a canvas and giving it some fancy title just really goes against the grain as far as I'm concerned. So I might be here under false pretenses, but there you go. There's a lot of fun to be had with doing this kind of painting, because ideally you don't start out to do this picture, you just chuck it on, move it around and see what happens. And there's a lot of fun to be had with that. You know, you can discover techniques and textures and ideas which you can then put into your other paintings, your more representational paintings. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about marks and about paint by just chucking it on, moving it around, and not having any sense of what you're going to do. And that's how these started. This one is an acrylic, although actually it would have worked much better in oil, I realised afterwards. And that's to do with the textural value of the two mediums, the way they actually work when you use the instrument and spread them. And that's, I can't describe that, you just have to do it and see for yourself. But I know that this would have been better in oil than it is in acrylic. From a textural point of view, it would have had something about it which was to me would have grabbed me more, because I've done other pictures similar ilk using oil, and I've always liked those, and they've sold. So this one's never sold. So that tells you something. It's upside down. Did you notice that? No, of course you don't. You just put it up. You know, I just looked for a composition and I decided this was the best way. Now this is the instruments, this one and this one. Was all I used for this. No, I tell a lie. I used one of these, a rigger. I can tell by the marks on the canvas. So the original spreading is done with these, and there's a knack. You know, you've got to get it carefully on from the palette, and you need to use it like this at a sort of 90-degree angle to get the kind of texture you get where it breaks. It doesn't run smoothly. The more you drop the angle, the smoother it will be. So these are all, you know, little techniques you can pick up, but you only learn it by having a go and doing it. So you have to pluck up the courage to. And the other thing is with these canvases, you can use them time and time again. Because if you don't like what you've done, you just paint it out and start again. And whatever's underneath, all the textures from underneath, add to the next picture. They give them texture. So I'll show you some of the work where that's occurred, that what's underneath has made, you know, all the difference. So that's that one. This one is, I don't know where this came from. I just started playing around with lines on the canvas, I think, to start with, and that's what came out. So there you go. There's other ways of playing around. I'm a great one into recycling, okay? Now, when I was really going at this business and working 7 days a week for several years, I used to have in my studio, spread out of stuff. There was ongoing stuff all the time. I never work on one, I still don't work on one piece from start to finish. I've always got as many as 15 different pieces of work on the go. And I'll go back to them when I sort of think, oh yes, I know what I can do with that now. I can do a bit more to it, and so on and so forth, you know. No, it's not quite finished. I'll just stick it over there for a while. And very often I won't even stick it so I can see it. I'll stick it so I can't see it. So when I pull it out again, I look at it with fresh eyes. I've not kept looking at it and you know, worrying over it kind of stuff. I've just propped it up against the wall somewhere and forgot about it. And several months later, I might go and have a look and think, oh yeah, I know what that is. And I've got myself a better paint. Okay. So this one took about sort of gestation period of about 6 or 9 months. Okay, and it started with this. Now this is the skin off the top of a tin of acrylic paint. Because I used to buy my paint in 2.5 litre tins and then dispense it into smaller pots to use on an everyday basis. And I went back to this one, and there was a skin on the top of it, so I got a palette knife, take it around, put my fingers in, pinched it, pulled it out, and thought, what can I do with this? Pulled the canvas down, stuck it to the canvas, and left it. Okay? So, come back to it sometime after, when I've got this, it's actually white, circle of congealed paint that stuck to the canvas simply because it was wet on the other side. Alright? Now, that sort of inspired me to think about how can I use that idea, all right? So if you buy, yes, I have got one. If you buy paint in pots like this and you use it regularly, what happens is you get a congealed circle around there with a jagged edge and a round hole in the middle of it, right? And if you peel them off and put them on the table and save them until you've got enough, you can do that. Right? So this is congealed paint and this is congealed paint. Alright? So I'm on a roll now, okay? So I start playing around and 1 isn't a good number. I like, you know, odd numbers like flower arranging. So I decided to do 2 more circles. So I did 2 circles the same size as that and complementary colour, blue against the orange. Okay, so now I've got a white canvas and I've got a white slab of colour on here, which I painted orange. I might have done, I don't know. I can't remember, obviously, exactly, but I can remember the kind of slow process. These, as I said, now this, when I do mural paintings, I'd use a roller tray as a palette. You're generally using big brushes, and a roller tray works really well as a palette. So you just, chuck the paint in quite large quantities, use fairly large brushes. Anyway, the acrylic paint dries, okay? And the way to clean it, once it's got sort of loads of layers on, the way to clean it is to pour boiling water in. Because for some reason, the acrylic separates from the plastic of the roller tray and it comes out as a mould. It's really good. Anyway, you get a pair of scissors and you cut nice neat edges to it. And then you get the broken edges and you stick it to the canvas with PVA. Okay? Do you want PVAs? Yes? Nobody? Yeah? Okay. And you stick it to the canvas with PVA, which is totally compatible with acrylic. And so all of these bits are the remains unaltered, just the way it was in the bottom of my palette after I finished the mural. Okay? So I'm still recycling. I'm still using scrap to try and create an idea. Okay? And this is me with a tube of paint going, okay? And so I must have painted this first before I stuck these on. Yes, I must have done. I must have put this on after I've done that. And I played around here with a rigger and various, and developed it to become that. And it's called The Origins of Life. And I think it's one of the best pieces of work I've ever done. I really do. I really, really like it. And it just slowly matured over months of playing around and so on and so forth. Okay?
If you turn it sideways, it looks like an owl.
Yes. I'll tell you a story about that. Somebody, I did a watercolour of a Greek street. And I don't really know about Greek chimneys. They built the chimney and then they put 4 posts in and they put 2 tiles on the top of them. And so the smoke comes up, hits it and goes out, and that's the sideways. Anyway, I did this street scene and there were 2 chimneys on the top of this roof. And this lady bought it and she really liked it, she took it home. And the guy came in one day to her home and said to her, "Oh, those chimneys look like 2 cats sitting on the roof." And you know, it entirely spoiled this project. And in the end, she brought it back and swapped it for another one because she couldn't live with these cats. So you should always be careful when you comment on other people's paintings. Yeah, it's really interesting how, because I once did an exhibition and I had a huge piece in, and to me it was underwater coral and everything else. But to somebody else who put it in the comments book said it looked like crashing waves with a seagull. And from that day on, it always looked like crashing waves with a seagull to me, because it was. You know, it was there. So you need to be careful sometimes when you make
it. I wasn't meaning to offend you. I was just
no, listen.
What you were saying about...
You have to work very hard to offend me. You have to work particularly hard. Right, somebody once said I had an uncrushable ego. So I'm not quite sure whether it'd be complimentary or not. So, working on the idea of not being, completely sort of straightforward, you can do pieces like this. Now, these are box canvases, and I've used doweling, and I've used an auger drill, and I've glued them in with PVA to make these structures. And it's an amusing story. I actually went to... I was introduced to somebody who owned a furniture store in Kensington, and this furniture store had a particular style to it. It wasn't just any old furniture; it had a real style to it, and everything in it was either black or red or white, or a combination of the two. There were no other colours in the shop. It was either black, red, or white. And they said they wanted paintings to go on the wall, which would be sort of abstract and go with this furniture. So I worked for ages and produced, I don't know, about 10 of these paintings, took them down to Kensington, and they closed down. and never bothered to let me know. So, anyway, this was one of them. And you can buy this in packets, and you just use gum arabic to glue it on the canvas. And the rest is paint. All this gold is gold paint or whatever. But these sheets actually, it's like gold leaf basically, but you can get it in all kinds of patterns and things. I used to go to Hobby Crafts, the show. Yeah, I used to have a stand there at one time. So I always have a wander around and see if there was anything interesting that I might just use in some of my sort of less representational paintings. So whether you call this abstract, I have no idea. To me, I'd call it decorative. It was intended to go on the wall with some furniture, and to me, it's a decorative piece rather than trying to be abstract in every way. Oh, that's just another one on the same. Yeah, this is like imitation gold leaf. It isn't actually gold leaf. I have used gold leaf before now in a painting, but this is just fake stuff. So. Right. Yes. This is the same idea where I've got the canvases, and this time I've just used strips of batten to screw them together to create that. Okay. This one is one of at least a couple of hundred paintings that I've done using this technique, which is using colour shapers. Okay? There's no brushwork in this, no palette knife work. It's all done entirely with these silicon colour shapers, they're called. Okay? The grey ones
that you use for pastels when you blend them?
yeah, you can use the manufacturers claim you can use them for anything.
Yeah.
To me, they're brilliant for oils, acrylics, for putting on.
Medium and that.
No, when you do watercolour, you block something out. What's it called?
Oh, masking film.
Thank you, masking film. They're really good for that because anything that's on them just peels off when it's dry. Nothing will stick to this material. So you don't even have to clean them. You know, you can just drag the paint off afterwards. I mean, this is covered in paint, but I can quite easily just do this, and you can see it's cracking, and I'll be able to scrape it off. There you go, and I can clean that in no time with my thumbnail. You know, so they're good from that point of view. But this is a story of experiment, okay? As I said, I've got very few of these now, and I have made almost 200 paintings based on this idea, this style. And I called them city squares, and they were mostly cityscapes, night scenes, all sorts of things like this. But it all started with an experiment in the studio, chucking it on, moving it around, seeing what happens. And I had some, years ago, to buy a box canvas like this was expensive. I mean, they're peanuts now compared to what they used to be. And so I used to make my own. And so I used to buy rolls of canvas. And I used to buy that and make my own because it was so much cheaper than buying ready-made canvases. I mean, a canvas this big was about 25 quid, you know, in the sort of early 80s. So, I had some samples of canvas which were about this, about 6 inches square. They had a pinking sheer edge to them, and had about 6 different samples, so they all had different textures and things, right? And they were lying around on my bench, and I'm sort of thinking about what am I going to do, and so I think, I got a square canvas, and I got these patches, and I got some PVA, and I soaked them in PVA solution. So I usually I usually dilute the PVA down, sort of as much as 50%. It sticks better than using it neat. So I still now have a jar of solution on my bench, because I use it quite a lot actually. I varnish my paintings with PVA. It's a terrific varnish, and it's peanuts compared to acrylic varnish. Sorry?
What's that other word?
PVA glue?
No, what you did, what was it?
Varnish.
Varnish, sorry, I didn't...
Yeah.
I was doing something else, I didn't know what I was
That's
doing.
okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I
You
woke you
used
up. Yeah, that's just got a slight sheen on it, and that's varnished with PVA. That's one coat.
You know varnish with it as well.
50-50 with water to make it the right solution. Give it a really good shake, a really good stir, and when you put it on, it'll go milky colour, and then it'll dry absolutely clear. And it's a perfect varnish for a fraction of the price you pay for acrylic varnish. 2 coats will make it shinier still. 3 coats will make it even shinier. So, okay. So, the story of this one is square canvas, pieces of canvas, pink and edge shears, edges to it, PVA, glue it on, and then get 2 colours, blue and orange, and one 1-inch brush. And that was it. I was going to keep myself to that's the formula, a 1-inch brush, 2 colours, and what I've done on the surface. And I played around with it. 3/4 of the way through, I suddenly saw a picture, right? Up until then, I was simply putting marks on, reacting to what I'd already done. It was pure instinct. And then I saw a picture. So then I deliberately played around with it and enhanced certain parts and everything else to give me this, what I saw as a view of honestly, my brain is really going. Okay. Eastern European country with a bridge that's very famous in the middle of it.
Charles Bridge. Charles Bridge.
No.
Australia.
Oh,
No. Eastern
East
European country.
Was it the bridge that was bombed?
The bridge separates two. Budapest. That's the one. I have been to Budapest, and for some reason, what I'd created reminded me of Budapest with this bridge. So I played around with it, put a few bits in, and thought, yeah, I like that. So I took it and exhibited it at a show, and got loads of really good feedback, and got one guy right at the end of the show, because I put a good price on it, because I had a feeling I liked this painting, so I put a good price on it. And I had a guy right at the very end of the show who was trying to beat me down, and I'd had a really good show, so I wouldn't budge, and so he didn't buy it. But what the hell? I've had a good show, and I know the painting's a good one. So then I put it into a really smart exhibition, and a guy I knew about, who I really wanted to catch the eye of, bought this painting, and subsequently bought about 10 other paintings off me. And he's a really sort of serious collector, and he likes really abstract stuff. And he bought one or two really abstract stuff, as well as liking these sort of city squares ones that I called them. But I knew I was onto a winner, so I then just carried on painting. Like I said, it spawned a couple of hundred paintings until I got sick of doing them. I really did get fed up of doing them, because it was all anybody wanted. I go to the galleries and I want some city square paintings, and I got fed up of doing it. So there's a couple more here that are on the same. Here I've used paper. You soak the canvas in PVA, thin liquid PVA. You then put the paper onto it and stick it down, and then use a clear brush and paint over the top of it again. So the paper is sealed between two layers of PVA. The PVA stops any sort of moisture or moulds or anything getting to it. It seals it completely, okay? So I haven't got any examples, but I have used all kinds of stuff and stuck it to the canvases. I've used my beard trimmings, right? I've used seeds from the garden, loads of them, right? I've used dock leaves, which were chewed by caterpillars until all you had was the lace effect of all the veins, because they take the two surfaces off and just leave the veins. And if you search for them, they do it every year, and they are absolutely fabulous. And I did a scene where I used them as trees in a snow scene, and they were all sort of different sizes and shapes and what have you. And it looked like I'd spent hours painting these wonderful shapes. I haven't. The caterpillars have done it. So I'm always looking for these kinds of things that you can use, that you can recycle, that you can, and they can come from anywhere. You'd be amazed. So there's an example of using paper. This is sugar paper, and also very thin tissue paper is great because you can ruckle it up. I believe there's a lot of watercolour stuff done now doing the same technique. And that's a similar one. That again, it's got paper on it and rocked up and whatever to make an interesting surface. Okay. I'm putting all these out obviously so that you can come and look at them in the break and get a close look at